from other time zones, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. If you can hear me clearly, please give me a thumbs up.
When freedom of expression becomes a target of suppression.
Requesting production to pause the music for now so that we can get the conversation underway. Great. We apologize for the delay, the 9-minute delay. We were having interference on the main host's handle, but we've sorted that out and are now ready to get the conversation going. As announced, this is a space that is being held to discuss a critical issue pertaining to the human rights situation in the country. I have the privilege, singular honor of hosting it alongside Dr. Judith Nalukoola. Before we get the conversation underway, I'd like to lay out the conceptual aspects of the space, tell you about how the space will be held in terms of the program, the time we will allot to the audience to participate, and how we will bring this to a conclusion. Civil liberties and political rights have long been endangered under the nearly 4-decade rule of General Yoweri Museveni in Uganda. This repression has been enabled by a cocktail of tools, including draconian policy and legislative agendas, through captive institutions like parliament, arbitrary administrative decrees, targeted assaults on judicial independence, media freedoms, and the outright use of force against citizens. Specific to this discussion, for which we've developed this note, is the weaponization of law enforcement, state security forces, the intelligence community, and the creation of paramilitary, vigilante, and regime-aligned militias that perpetrate assorted forms of violence, including assault, sexual assault, abduction, unlawful detention, torture, disappearances, and extrajudicial killings. These heinous crimes are often meted out on the population, but most frequently on leaders and members of the opposition political parties, social movements, the press, and individual activists, often with impunity. Suffice to say that whereas violations in past decades were characterized by secrecy and attempts at concealment, the present situation is punctuated by brazen displays of unchecked power and the threat or actual use of violence. Notable in this regard is first son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who holds the offices of Chief of Defense Forces and Special Presidential Advisor on Special Operations. Two of his top lieutenants, namely Colonel Chris Magezi and Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, have similarly been vocal in the endorsement of this reign of terror. Now to the case of Mr. Edward Ssebuufu, also known as Eddie Mutwe. Abducted late last month in April by a contingent of armed operatives, Edward Ssebuufu, who leads the NUP National Unity Platform President Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu's security detail, adds to the dozens of Ugandans currently detained without trial, many of whom have been locked up for years on end. The focus of this discussion spans both the detention of Ssebuufu, his bodyguards, his core bodyguards, and the numerous political detainees currently languishing in ungazetted and gazetted detention facilities countrywide relative to the context that has been described above. Finally, this discussion is being held at a time when neighboring countries are wallowing in the throes of creeping militarism, alongside an ongoing spate of reversals in the democratic culture worldwide. To that extent, we Ugandans are in solidarity with fellow East Africans and all people facing tyrannical regimes world over. That's the end of the context. So we now have the honor of sharing with you what the program will look like. We have an opening session where we will hear from leaders of the party, affected families, victims or survivors of torture. Thereafter, we will hear from the head of the leadership of the party, including President Chagulanyi Sentamu, David Lewis Rubongoya, and lawyers like Benjamin Katana, who will brief us on the situation. We will open the floor for participation from the audience, and the audience will be limited to 1 minute in terms of contribution, so please keep your contribution short. The second half and final part of the program will get back to the panel that we've assembled, and then we will conclude the conversation. At this point, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Dr. Judith Nalukoola, who will pose the first question and the second question, and we will carry on the conversation from there. Judith, over to you. Judith, are you there?
I am.
Okay, great. Over to you, Judith.
Hello, is
Yeah, Judith, all you have to do is unmute yourself and speak. We will hear you. I will confirm when we hear you here.
I have.
Judith, you are muted. If you are speaking, you are muted.
Trying to unmute, but then every it mute.
Okay, while my colleague Judith resolves that glitch, I will take the liberty to pose the question. Okay, I will take the liberty to pose the question, and then we'll get my colleague Judith back as soon as she sorts out that issue. Production, people in the background, please help us sort out the glitch with Judith. The question, and this is to the leadership of the party, and we will have other responses from other participants in terms of those who have been affected by torture, directly affected by torture, detention, abduction, or disappearances, is, from your perspective, what is the state of human rights in the country at the moment? From your perspective, what is the state of human rights in the country at the moment? If the president is here, or David Lewis Rubongoya, or Benjamin Katana, please take on the question. Yes, Mr. Rubongoya, I see you. Please go ahead. Yes, Mr. President, I can hear you loud and clear. Sure, go ahead. Much appreciated, Mr. President. The next question related to the background that you've ably laid out goes to David Lewis. David, are you able to speak? Much appreciated.
Yes, I can hear you and I'm able to speak, please.
Great. Please give us a picture of the current state of play in terms of the number of people abducted, the number of people detained, the torture victims that disappeared, and the dead. That's the update we are requesting from you. David, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew, and we appreciate everybody who has joined this space. Solidarity with Comrade Eddie Mutwe and other political prisoners. You know, between 2019 and 2021, the people who are documented are 2,134 persons who were abducted by the military regime. Many of these people were later released. Some, of course, as you know, were never traced up to today, to an extent that we still have 18 missing persons. These 18 missing persons have been missing, and we have the wife of one of them, Damrila John, on the space tonight. But the rest of these people largely were picked up off the streets, you know, taken in detention, in ungazetted places of detention. Many of them ended up before the unit disciplinary committees of UPDF, others before the division's court-martial, others before the general court-martial. Like I said, we still have 18 missing persons. But even after the election, we have recorded a total of 143 people who have so far been abducted. But these are people who we get to know about. You know, every time a person comes back from either CMI or wherever they hold them, they will tell you that they found so many other people there who we never get to know about. You know, Bright Mhumza the other day told us that he was taken to a room where there were more than 500 people. And he said majority of these are Muslims. You can't know where they're coming from. You talk to some of them, they say they've been in detention for, you know, 9 years, for 10 years, and that kind of thing. Now, those recently abducted, of course, we have Eddie Mutwe, we have Shakul Sentongo, Chagulanyi Najib, Sebude Kasim, Palanyi Michael, who is also known as Infantry. So these 6 are still missing as we speak today. The number of those arrested since 2021, the ones our Human Rights Desk has recorded, is 272. And we must draw a distinction between abductions and arrests. Abductions, we look at them to mean these, you know, these ones which are done completely outside the law, where people are, first of all, picked up, taken to places not gazetted by law, kept there longer than 48 hours. So those are the categories we look at as abductions. But those, the 272 I'm talking about, are those who have been taken through due process, arrested, taken through courts of law, charged, etc., etc., maybe get out on bail, etc. As we speak, we still have over 100 people in detention, in different detention centers, and we always don't give a specific number because almost on a daily basis, you have new numbers being arrested and other people being released. So it always, the number is always changing, but as we know right now, we have slightly over 100 people who are in detention, including people at Chitalia, those who are at Luzira Upper Prison, Makshon Bay, and other prisons like Chitala, a prison in Impiji, and other places. The other day, our comrade was arrested in Chisoro, another one in Ruchiga, another one in Bushenyi, you remember Mbawazi Pase, and all that. So these are the kinds of cases I'm talking about. Now, I also wanted to mention that we still have close to 300 children who need help because either their parents are in prison, maybe their parents are missing, maybe their parents were killed, and of course those who have been tortured and damaged in one way or the other. So that is the situation I can give you. Like I said, and I want to appreciate our legal team. You can see that from the election, those who were able to document were over 2,000 people, and the legal team has been working very hard to secure bail, in some cases secure bond. Of course, some are always just dumped somewhere in the swamp after 3 weeks. Right now, what the regime normally does is not even to give these people any form. When they abduct them and take them to CMI, subject them to torture and all that, when the time comes and they feel like releasing them, they just say, you go, without giving them any single document. And that started after the Masereka situation. You remember Masereka was our registrar in Kasese, and he was very, very badly tortured. And then they gave him a bond form, and the charge was subversive activities, which is even non-existent. And of course, we went to court. The case took so long, but eventually the court decided that case in favor of Masereka, of the victim. Of course, the court awarded very little money, 30 million shillings as compensation, but at least there was a declaration of the High Court clearly saying that he had been under the custody of CMI and they're the ones who tortured him. So from that time, they stopped giving any document for any victim to prove that this person is in their custody. And so that has been the situation with very, very many of our comrades who are picked from around the country, from Yumbe, from Arua, from Fort Porto, and other parts of the country. So, Andrew, that's the picture I can paint for you.
Okay, much appreciated. We will soon hear from lawyers like Benjamin Katana, who've done a splendid job insofar as the legal response is concerned. However, I have received a lot of feedback from the audience that they were not able to hear what Honorable Chagulanyi was saying. So, Mr. Chagulanyi, I'm going to request you to unmute, and unfortunately, you have to restate your first answer to the question that we posed. Yes. Okay. And you sure? And I'll just check to see who can hear the president right now. If you heard what Honorable Chagulanyi said in the last few seconds, please give us a thumbs up. Okay, it appears there's a challenge. Yeah, I can hear you myself.
I can also hear.
Yeah, but the audience cannot.
And I can hear him as well. So I believe maybe many people are hearing him right now.
I'm actually.
Maybe you can mute a random person and find out if they can hear.
On my screen right now, there's a lot of thumbs down. People saying we can't hear him. Okay, let's do a mic check. Honorable Chagulanyi. If you can hear Honorable Chagulanyi, please give us a thumbs up. No, they can't. few minutes. Thank you for joining. And then we'll have this discussion underway. There's attempts to frustrate the connection, colleagues. For those who are just joining us, we are holding an alternative through my connection. So please bear with us as we restart the conversation. Apologies for that, but the space, I repeat, is being frustrated through the use of signal jammers by vehicles parked outside Honorable Chagulanyi's home. That's the situation we're faced with at the moment. All our colleagues are here. We will commence the conversation.
Hello, Karamaji, why don't you take it on from there? Please, hello, Karamaji, why don't you take it on from there? Please, Marvin, make Karamaji a speaker. All these spaces were starting, but the criminals, of course, are targeting all these spaces were starting, but I believe we should be able to continue on this.
Do we know the Karamaji's?
Karamaji is up there. Just turn him into a speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Karamaji and Judith Nalukoola.
Very well. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Karamaji, I see you're a speaker. Could you please take it on from there?
Can you hear me now? I am speaking, David Lewis. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Very well.
I can hear you
Excellent.
too.
So we've lost.
I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, the shameless people have had us lose about 49 minutes out of the 90 that we had prepared to speak for. But we will nonetheless proceed in the spirit of citizen power or people power and make sure that this conversation is held, come hell or high waters. We will proceed with this conversation. I'd like to appreciate the resilience of our production team and you in the audience who have insisted to listen and join each space that we've held despite the disruptions. So instead of reverting to the conversation that we had earlier, I will give a summary in 1 minute. I will endeavor to be under 1 minute of what has been discussed in the previous attempts, and then we will get the rest of the questions that are pending posed and open the floor for the audience to join. As I said earlier, each speaker, each participant will have just 1 minute to share their thoughts, and then we'll get back to the panel. So we started off by asking what the human rights situation in the country is at the moment, and we got an update about the ongoing spate of abductions, the assaults, the disappearances, and extrajudicial killings. None of this is breaking news. It is always in our faces on social, mainstream, and print media. We very well know about this. And that answer was given by Honorable Chagulanyi. We then heard a response from David Lewis Rongoya regarding the numbers in terms of the abductees, the detainees, torture victims, the disappeared, and the dead. Cumulatively, those numbers amounted to over 2,000 people, with the timeline starting or stretching as far back as 2020. We have a number of people who have been detained both in gazetted and ungazetted locations without trial. We also have a legal team that has been handling these issues. And as I now invite one of the lead lawyers in this matter, Benjamin Katana, to give us a brief on what has been happening on the legal front, I request that he be made a speaker. We will also thereafter hear from family members, affected family members, as well as individuals who have borne the brunt of being held in torture chambers without trial, but fortunately have been released, albeit with grave injuries to themselves. So may we have Benjamin Katana address us on the issue pertaining to the legal front, what has gone on there. And after we hear from the affected family members or individuals, we will open the space to the public. Over to you.
If you will permit,
yes.
if I may ask, if I may request.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for permitting my interjection. Just before the criminals interrupted our network, you had asked me to reiterate my answer, since many people did not get to hear me. So with your permission, I could use just a minute or two.
Perfectly. Please use 3.
Thank you very much. Well, just to reassert it that we are without a doubt in a reign of terror. Leave alone what has been happening under closed doors and in concealment, where so many people have been abducted, killed. But this, at least, the regime has had the decency to conceal it, and you can give it to General Museveni. But what we have is a fully blown out reign of terror, where General Museveni's son has absolute unchecked powers to abduct, torture, and kill people. This happened to the likes of Kakwenza and others. It happened to so many people that were personally tortured by Mohozi, but there was no, acceptance by himself that is the one who did it. But we are in a time where he tortures our people and brags. Case in point is the ongoing torture of Eddie Mutwe, who's abducted. We used to hear that Idi Amin and Obote regimes were gross human rights abusers, but this we are seeing in real time. As we speak right now, our brother could be undergoing torture if he's still alive. This is a situation that calls for the attention and action of every Ugandan. And I must conclude by saying that we are not approaching this matter as the National Unity Platform alone, but as human beings, as Ugandans, because every Ugandan is at risk of this. I thought I should make it very clear. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Very well said, Honorable Chagulanyi. Thank you for that update. I wonder whether Lewis might have anything to add in that respect to the articulate brief that the president has made before we hear from Benjamin Katana. I request the production team once again to make Benjamin Katana a speaker so that we can hear from what has been going on the legal front.
Yeah, Comrade Karamaji, I'm failing to identify Comrade Katana. If you could request, that would be really good. Thank you.
Okay, Benjamin, if you can hear, please push the request button and my colleague in production will help put you up. Is my co-host Dr. Judith Nalukoola here? If she is,
Yes, I am here.
Great, good to have you. So, okay. Benjamin has requested, please allow him. Okay, go ahead, Benjamin. What has happened on the legal front? Have we exhausted all options? What's the state of play? Over to you, Mr. Katana.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you very much, everyone who has joined this space, the solidarity space, with our brother Mutwe, who is in illegal detention and probably undergoing a lot of torture, just like the pictures we have seen suggest. The starting point is that we are dealing with a government that has descended into a criminal enterprise, and therefore rule of law is a far cry. We have had court orders ignored. The other day, the Human Rights Commission issued a release order in respect to our detained brother Mutwe, but to date it has been ignored by the army and particularly the Chief of Defense Forces, who has confessed as having him in his basement. Similarly, we have had so many court orders, habeas corpus orders, unconditional release orders ignored. Our approach has been that the only solution to oppression is resistance. And while I have been asked to speak as a lawyer, I would want to emphasize generally that this is not in respect to lawyers, but to everyone that is involved in this fight for the restoration of rule of law in our country. That 50 years ago, at the height of the operations of State Research Bureau and other agencies, Ugandans sat in different rooms to discuss how to resist and overcome a brutal and killer regime that the regime of the day had become. Today we are meeting here, and probably we should meet in several other places to make sure that we all put in effort to make sure that we bring an end to this brutal rule. So our approach has been to use the spaces available in courts of law and other agencies. In the case of Mutwe, we have filed a writ of habeas corpus. We are yet to get the order from court, just like we have filed for several other people. The Secretary General talked about the case of Masereka, but they talked about the case of the missing persons, talked about the various people who were abducted during the 2021 presidential elections, and several other Ugandans that have been illegally arrested, abducted, and detained since around 2019. Our approach has been to make sure that for every person whose information comes to our attention, we file applications in court for habeas corpus, for unconditional release, and things of that nature. Many times we have had cases drag on. Many times we have had cases not being fixed. Many times we have had court orders given and ignored, especially by the security forces, which is not strange considering the criminal enterprise that we are dealing with that the NRM government has become. My call to the people on this space is that we must organize. Those who are able to go to court like we are doing should go to court. Those who are able to organize in their different places of operation must organize, so that we build pressure, disempower the regime, so that it can give in to the demands of the people of Uganda. Where the courts of law we are doing, there are even efforts at international level. You remember the complaint we filed with the ICC and several others. So yes, the legal approaches, the approaches that are aimed at getting legal solutions are being undertaken, but these must be supplemented by political activism that will build the necessary pressure on the regime to even let the institutions like courts and Uganda Human Rights Commission and others that we have mentioned to be able to exercise their mandate under the constitution to give orders, but even when these orders have been given, to give them life, because it's one thing to have orders from courts of law, it's another for these orders to be meaningful. What
Yes.
does it help if a person being detained, even when an order is issued, this person, the order is ignored, the person remains in detention, the family has no idea where this person is, and then you have a court order. It more or less becomes useless. So we must be able to build sufficient pressure from wherever we are standing, so that the regime can let these institutions be independent, exercise their mandate. When they issue orders, let these orders be respected, so that the rights of the citizens of Uganda can be respected regardless of where they stand politically.
Great. We appreciate you, Benjamin, for that elaborate update. And I thank you also I take note of you saying that this is beyond just a legal question. It is political. It requires the participation of citizens, even beyond what the laws and court processes come with. At this point, we'd like to put a human face to this discussion that we're having, and I will request in the following order, Shifra, who is with Eddie Mutwe's mother, to give her the mic so that she can share with us about the ordeal that the family is going through. We will then hear from Kavuma Jamshid, who is a previous victim of torture, who underwent a very grisly ordeal that was subjected to him. And then we'll hear from Judith, who's the wife to Damulira, who has been missing since 2020. We will also hear from Ajmaru, who is with the mother of Kasim Sepude, who was detained alongside Eddie Mutwe. So the first person we'd like to call and request our colleagues in production is Shifra, who is here. Please make Shifra a speaker so that we can hear from Eddie Mutwe's mother. And for the benefit of, do we have Shifra here?
Yeah, she's there. I'm trying to connect her, but
Are you physically proximate with her? Are you where she is?
no, I'm not where she is. I'm trying to connect her account, but
No, Shifra has requested to be a speaker, so they should just allow her. Shifra Lukundo. She has already requested to be a speaker.
Okay. There's thousands of requests, so I hope the production can sift through and find Shifra. As soon as that happens.
Okay, she is a speaker now.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Shifra. Yes.
I'm with Eddie Mutwe's mother, but she's requesting that she speaks in Luganda.
It's okay. Mama webale nnyo okujja kulukungana luno. Tunyolwa wamu naawe era bwolaba abantu abali ku lukungana buno bali mu nkumi na nkumi z'abantu abali mu Uganda ne mu nsi endala. Twagala okuwulira kiki kye muyiseemu nga family ya munnaffe mukulu Edward Sebuufu, era nekyoyagala abannayuganda n'abalala batuuliza bategeere necho cholu ebirubirwa byo ngeri gyolaba embeera gye tulimu ffenna nga bannayuganda naddala mwe ab'enju ya Ssebufu Eddie. Maama tukwaniriza, genda mu maaso.
Kale ssebo neyanzizza mwenna abali ku mukutu guno. Okuva Eddie bwe yakwatibwa 27 weeks 2 ng'emabega nali ku kitanda nga ndi mulwadde era nga yanzijanjaba n'abaana bange abamu. Then nali naakamala okutereera mu katono okuwulira omwana wange omu nankubira essimu ekiro nambuuza, maama oli bulungi? Nze ndi bulungi. Obulwadde buli butya? Nze waliwo eddagala lyenjagala lyessiina. Enkya tujja kujja tuligule. Eri agenda kumbuulira kulaba oba nina kyemmanyi. In fact nali siina kyemmanyi. Kati bwe nakeera ku makya ngenda okuteekako kiti ngenda okugenda ku Facebook nga ndaba Lumbu yayogera ngamba Eddie Mutwe yawambiddwa nga ndowooza oba bya bulimba. Nenziramu nensoma ngenda okubikula buli wamu omutima ne gunzigwamu. Nenkubira omwana wange nemugamba Martha, wabadde oyagala kuŋŋamba bya Eddie? Naŋŋamba ye maama, naye nadde saagala kutiisa nga njagala osooke weebaka okere ku makya otegeere nga pressure erinza okulinnya. In fact era yalinnya. Naye tusaba omwami muhozi alina omwana wange atuwa omwana waffe. Omwana waffe tumwagala, n'abalala bonna abasibiddwa abatalina musango tufune obwenkanya, at least kala mutwale mu kooti bw'aba alina kye yakola oba omusango gwonna bamuvunaane, tumanye nti ali mu kkomera gindi tusobola omulabako. Naye tetumulabako, opostinze ali bwereere, tayambadde kumuswaza mu baana be, n'ensi yonna okumulaba nti Eddie Mutwe afaanana bw'atyo. Omusajja yali alabika obulungi. Era tusaba n'obuwombeefu bungi batuwa omwana waffe. Embeera gye tulimu si nnungi. Abaana jjukira mami ddaji waabwe yabadde maama ye taata. Yanoonya ekyokulya. Nange nze kennyini mmaze ebbanga kati weeks ziringa 3 sikola. Era yabadde ambeererawo okusinga. Bwekubira maama oli otya, maama kutiti, maama najja n'akulambula buli lwava okukola. Kati simulabako. Ne weebaka n'obuuza oba alidde oba talidde, oba bamukuba oba bakola ki. N'abaana tuli wano ffenna tunyolwa, buli mwana buli lwajja ewaffe n'obatunuulira nga bonna beeyonziseemu. Banange nga sirina kyabbagamba. Tunyolerwa wamu ffenna. Gavumenti tusaba ota abaana baffe. Abazadde tukaaba. Sinze nzekka n'abalala waliwo abaafa, waliwo abatamanyiddwa gye bali, abalala bali mu kutulugunyizibwa tebalina misango. Ensi erigamba eti abantu abo abaana baabwe. Abaana b'abantu bano bali kulaba atya ne babagamba nti omulembe guno gwe gwatta kitaawo oba gwe gwatulugunya taatawo oba gwe gwamugyamu eriiso oba gwe gwamumenya emikono oba amagulu. Tuli tugamba tutya abaana. Era abaana bagenda kula batya nga katulinawo wano abaana aba Eddie. Kale ngezezza ku bange. Batunula bawulira nga twogera bino bagamba ye omulembe guno gwe gukola gwe gwatulugunya taata waffe n'abaana abalala bwe batyo. Ensi esaasira abantu. Tunyolwa, tukaaba. Bata omwana waffe.
Webale nnyo mami okwogera n'obuvumu obwo. Era byogedde byonna wano tulaba nga abantu bakkaanya naawe. For the benefit of those who are not fluent or conversant with Luganda, there are 5 bullet points that Mr. Eddie Ssebufu's mum has made, which is 1, she got the news as she was recovering from an illness and has been disturbed throughout. Her blood pressure shot up, and she's also imploring the authorities, specifically General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who has openly confessed to detaining Mr. Ssebufu in an ungazetted location to have him arraigned in court if at all there is a charge for which there's any crime for which he is being held. She's also called that for all political detainees or prisoners to be released beyond just the fact of her son. She is distraught about the way in which he has been treated, the humiliating pictures that have been shared, the obvious mistreatment that he's been subjected to. She can't stop thinking about his situation and how he's doing, whether he's eaten, whether he's slept well, and all that. And finally, she notes with grave concern about how these children will grow up in a kind of world that is a complete opposite of what they've otherwise grown up to know. So next, we will hear from Kavuma Jamshid, who's also a previous victim, and I request production to have him up. And in the interest of time, as you make Kavuma Jamshid a speaker, also do that for Judith, Damira's wife. Yes, and then Kasim Sebude's mother will also speak to us before we come to the rest of the audience. So I'm requesting our colleagues in the back room to give the mic to Kavuma Jamshid. Yes, he's requested. His handle is, I believe that's
At Jamshid Kavuma.
yes.
I've sent him a request. I don't know whether he's seen it.
Jamshid Kavuma, please accept the request and speak to us. Okay, as Kavuma Jamshid does that, have you also sent a request to Judith?
No, she's not called Judith, but she's my neighbor, so I've sent the request. I think they will get in. It's Muchala Damulira. The husband disappeared in 2020. Up to now, he's never been seen. He was abducted, and she's going to speak through the account of Kakande Chirumira.
Okay, Kakande Chirumira, yes, you have the
So he's already on. I don't know whether I can start.
yes, I can see Kakande Chirumira. I can also see Kavuma Jamshid. Let's hear from Kakande Chirumira, and then we will proceed to hear from Jamshid. Kakande, over to you. Feel free to use, as the previous speaker has, to use a language of your convenience. Go ahead, Kakande. Kakande, over to you.
Kakande, please unmute. I think you're muted.
Okay, he has unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, now you can speak.
Nange nsangiddwa n'obuzibu bw'okubanga abantu abo batuwambirwa abantu baffe batuwambira abantu baffe naffe tusangiddwa nga taffe tulina obulumi.
Yes, genda maaso.
Tusangiddwa nga tulina obulumi nga bw'owulya nti obulumi okutuwambiranga abantu baffe ate ne bamala ne babeegaana abantu baffe. Nze mukyala Damulira nina obuzibu bwe nasanga okubaleba bwanga bbaawa.
Nyabo tukuwulira, genda mu maaso okutuyogera ku bawamba bbaawo.
Obuzibu bwange bwe nasanga okubaleba bawamba bbaawa wange Damulira John Esalaama mukyala wenze njogera naye mpise mu bulumi obutajja kugamba nti kino kiri naye twebuuza abantu baffe bawambanga baaki naye ng'owamba omuntu.
Mama mukyala Damulira wali tunyonyodde kyekyaliwo bawe bamusangawo bamutwala ddi n'ebirala.
Mukyala Damulira John bamujja wa Kiseka ku dduuka lye ne bamutwala 2022 emyaka 5 gigenda kuwera nga 21 Novemba. Omusajja okuva le bamutwala 2020 kati okuva le batwala Ddamulira ogwo omwaka gwe bamutwala mpaka olwaleero tetuddangamu kulaba Ddamulira. Tutuuse mu makooti, tutuuse mu makooti ag'enjawulo, makomera batugamba talabikako. Kyokka ate nga Museveni oyo gwolaba yasoma Ddamulira n'agamba nti amuyina, ate bwe yamala yamwegaana, ate ne bamala ne bavunika fayiro zaffe batutambuza butambuza tebatubulya amazima g'ekiki ekituufu bakimanyi. Naye Museveni abantu baffe abatwala wa? Lwaki atubonyaabonya okutuuka ku kino? Musajja nakulekera otwala omuntu ng'omumanyi naye gwotutta olawuza olumizza bameka? Olumizza famire omuntu omu oyo gwolaba yebadde empagi ya famire yonna, abaana be, maama we n'abalala n'embeera gye tuyitamu. Nze mukyala Ddamulira nina embeera gye mpitamu lwakuba nze nawulira nga sisalina na bigambo byenjagala nakwogera kuba byanzigwako. Naye Museveni twakola ki? Abalala n'ogamba abantu 18 wabeegaana musajja gwe otutambuza paka. Tobayina ate obayina ate sibayina tibiki. Kati tukole kitutuukirewo okutuuka ku kino. Makomera tebaliyo ate gwe wabatwala abasirikale bwe batwala abantu lwaki temutukyasira ne mutuwa abantu baffe naffe tuva mu nnaku eno. Naye batuuka kubanga abaana bo bakusaba taata wammwe taata kati nafuuka maama ne taata lwaki mbeera mu eyo embeera wemumanyi kyempitamu naye olwokuba ofuluma mu nju ne bagamba nti ogenze naye nga nekyogenda okunoonya tokimanyi naye nga abaana bo abamu batudde waka tebasoma ate n'okunanga kyekyo kulwala bikoze bitya. Lwaki Museveni otubonyaabonya? Lwaki totuwa abantu baffe? Musajja gwe tukwegayiridde tukaabye biweddeyo nagasangula naye ngajjako saalina gansangula okoleka gwe ng'okutte ku makya n'ogamba mukazi gwe nkwadde abantu maama w'omusajja oyo Ddamulira yalekeraawo okwogera ayogera ekintu kimu. Omwana wange omwana waki omukuntusa kweyo embeera nawe gwe musajja gwe tozaalanga tolina abantu tolina bazzukulu kiki otubonyaabonya okutuuka ku mbeera bweki? Musajja gwe Museveni tuyambe tuwa abantu baffe naye ng'okimanyi wafukamira ku makya nga maama wakuzaala nakuteeka ebweru. Kiki kyetwakola ekyo tutaasira abaana bo ne bakoma ne bakulisaayo kyokka nga bakulisira nakava tekalimu yadde emutwalo ekintu kyesiringi omutwalo ebintu obataddemu omugaati. Naye gwe musajja gwe tusaasire tukwegayiridde buno obulumi kubanga tulinga abazaala essaawa zino abali mu makomera bate n'abawambibwa bajjeeyo. Ate era nkwegayiridde abatalina musango bantu bajje mu makomera baleete mu kkooti bawozebwe. Naye nga mukazi wa ddala yasindika abaana bakuze ne taata naye gwe olina eddala ekisa musajja gwe kitotusaasira tuyita mu bulumi lwakuba totumanyi bwe tuli bubi kubanga sigwe Katonda Katonda yateekawo abantu babiri n'agamba nti kibaawukanya kuba kufa naye ate gwe watwawukanya sigwe Katonda. Tetwajja kuteeba nti gwogere twawukanya kuba tutwagattibwa nga tumanyi nti munnange agenze nina amalalo gambula nina balaga ki n'amalalo sigalina nange bwe nalindaga nti bati bwonna mutambuddewo nange nti okunteekawo obumu tulwala tumunyaabonyezebwa oye bannange Museveni nkwegayiridde taata tuwa abantu baffe tusaba abali mu makomera munnange bate kale bo babalabako naye nabo bate bajje bawozibwe naye ffe abaabuzibwawo emyaka 5 ddala omuntu wa munno.
Maama tunyolwa wamu naawe n'abaana bo olw'okubuzibwawo okwa baawo mwami Ddamulira John era ndowooza abantu bonna bawulidde era tusuubira ne buno obubaka bujja kutuuka kwabo bekikwatako. Again, for the benefit of those who might not comprehend Luganda, this is John Damlira's wife. As you can probably tell, she is disconsolate, and she has talked about the situation in which she's going through, including the fact that she is completely, going through indescribable heartache. She has to play the role of mother and father because her husband has been missing for close to 5 years now, having been picked up from his shop in Kampala and has never been seen again. She doesn't know anymore what to say or what answers to give to her children when they ask about their father. She's also said, rather concerningly, that one of her children has been affected by the withdrawal syndrome. That child only speaks a word or two and that's it, and does not talk. This withdrawal having been brought on by the disappearance of the father for close to 5 years now. Next, we have Kavuma Jamshid to share his personal experience as an abductee who was fortunate enough to make it out alive from the dungeons of the torture chambers, such as where Eddie Mutwe is being held. Jamshid, if you are here, please accept the mic and share with us. Jamshid Kavuma. Okay, go ahead. I see you. Please share. And like the others, feel free to speak in a language of your convenience.
Okay. Bannange oba mumpulira
Stebo tukuwulira genda maaso tukulya bulungi nnyo.
Tukuwulira sewa.
Genda maaso Stebo tukuwulira.
network entawanya bannange neyanziza omukisa guno okunteekako wano sijja kwogera luzungu kuba erinnyo linnuma yinza okugira so kanjogere mu Luganda lwentegeero.
Oh dear. We have a challenge with Jamshid because he keeps coming on and going off. So I will line up as we wait for him to sort that glitch out. I will now ask Ajmaru, who is with the mother of Kasim Sepude, who was arrested alongside Eddie Mutwe. So Ajmaru, if you are here. To my co-host, Dr. Nalukoola,
I've tried to look for his handle. I can't see it.
Okay, in that case...
I've looked for Jamal's handle. I can't see it. So I think probably if he's on, he can send a request, then I let him speak.
Ajmaru, if you are here, please send a request to speak and you will be allowed to do so. Okay, while we wait for Ajmaru to share, because those two will be the last people to speak before we hear from the audience, members of the audience. And as we get ready to do that, production is already... okay, Kavuma, you are here? Katusaba oyitemu bwangu otuuse obubaka. Oh dear. Okay. For Jamshid, just so that his story is not lost in the weeds of this network challenge, I will request Benjamin, if he's still here, to share Jamshid's audio in a minute so that we afford him the audience that he deserves, and then we will open the floor to the audience to share. Benjamin, if you may.
He seems muted.
Yeah, Benjamin, if you're speaking, you are muted.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, Andrew.
Yeah, we have Jamshid is having network connection issues. So as counsel, who I'm sure have handled this file amongst the numerous others that you've handled, you could give us a brief on Jamshid's ordeal. Thank you.
Yeah. Jamshid was brutally arrested and in fact shot in the leg at the time of arrest. He was held incommunicado for a number of days. Jamshid was brutally arrested and in fact shot in the leg at the time of arrest. He was held incommunicado at the time of arrest, and we applied for habeas corpus, but when the state was served, they produced him in court and charged him with malicious damage to the vehicle that the security personnel who came to arrest him were moving in. And the question, of course, was before the arrest, which offense had he committed? Because the offense with which he was charged, the allegation was that he committed it at the time they were trying to arrest him. Eventually, they did not pursue the case like it has been with the rest. And to give this proper context is that most of our people, most of our colleagues have been arrested on trumped-up charges. They are held for a number of days, eventually produced in court sometimes. And when they get bail, the matter never comes up for trial. 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. Why? Because the state has no evidence and they are just holding them on trumped-up charges, basically for purposes of persecuting them. And Kavuma Jamshid's case is one of such cases of fabricated charges.
Sure. Thank you so much for that brief. Were we able to get the final speaker on the panel so that he can share as well? Kasim Sebude's mother, who is with Ajmaru. If you are here, please either request and then we can hear from you and move to the audience. We will select speakers, but before we do that, please note that you have exactly a minute. We have... Yes, please, my colleague in production, go ahead.
No, I cannot see Ajmal's.
Yes, the producer. What?
Oh, sorry, I was just saying I cannot see the. Oh, I was saying I cannot see the hand. Also, I think we can go to the audience because I can't find the hand of Ajmal. I failed to get it, and he's also not sending a request to communicate with him.
Okay, this space has 7,507 people right now. My colleague, my co-host, will choose speakers from the audience, and I invite her to do so. But before that, I see a hand from our colleague in the back room. You have something to say?
No, you've opened up to the public, so I had a couple of questions. I don't know if I can go first for the 1 minute.
Or that were written to you, or your own questions?
My own questions.
Okay, great. Since you are in production, we will hear from you. Let's first have the rest of the audience share, and then we will come to you in production. I hope that's fine. Okay. Dr. Judith Nalukoola, yes, please choose speakers. Sasi, you're saying something?
Yeah. I was saying I'm seeing Jamshid back online. I know he has just disappeared, but he had briefly returned online. I also wanted to supplement on what Councillor Katana was saying earlier. Jamshid, for many who don't know, was actually at the scene when they were abducting Mutwe last Sunday. And he was... I thought he was going to come and give us a brief of what transpired that fateful evening. He might have given us a description of some of the faces that he saw, and one of those faces is a bulky gentleman. No offense meant. Is one of the bulky gentlemen that keeps following our president everywhere he goes at home. at the headquarters in Kavule, and literally everywhere. So it's quite unfortunate that Jamshid is not here, but let me see if I can reach out to him. See what the issue is.
Actually, if it helps, I was just talking to Jamshid a while ago, and I could call him and ask him to speak through my phone, so he can be able to communicate with the rest of the masses here.
Sure, please.
Okay, allow me just a minute.
Okay, as Dr. Nalukoola lines up her choice of speakers, we have allocated 20 minutes to this slot, and if all of us stick to the 1 minute rule, we will be able to put in as many people, probably even more than 20, since we are using a minute each. Honorable Chagulanyi, is Jamshid ready to talk?
And
yes,
Jamshid now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Jamshid kwoli ku line. Era abayiriza bulungi nnyo ssebo.
Kale kangende maaso. Bannange baganda bange mwenna abali wano mwebale kubeerawo, mwebale kukuŋŋaana mu bungi w'emuti ku nsonga ya muti y'abaganda baffe abawambibwa ne muganda waffe Edi Mutwe, kuba eno ensonga ewomeddwamu omutwe nga ya Edi Mutwe neyini. Ansooke ndowooza ntandikire ku nsonga zange ganze we nawambibwa ennaku z'omwezi nga 5 ogw'Okwakumi 2022. Nasangibwa Masanafu ku kifo bakiyita Gladiator Paradise. Abasajja we banzija najjira mu drone yali taxi, wabula tetwali tumanyi nti taxi eya bulijjo ng'erimu ebikubo bya taxi byennyini ng'eriko n'akatanda waggulu. Kati abasajja abo we bajja okumpamba, like nagezaako okudduka, kati bwe nali nziruka ne bankuba essasi mu kugulu, baali baagala kummenya kugulu, wabula okugulu tebaakola ki, tebaakumenya. So baamala okunkuba essasi ne bansika ne banteeka mu drone, omusaayi nga guyiika mungi, nga bansibye empingu ne baŋŋamba nti nyambulemu essaati ng'olwedde ndi ku mpingu nga ndi ku handicrafts, nzijemu essaati ate gye mbansiba ku kugulu. Kati nga neebuuza essaati ngenda gijjamu ntya ng'ate olwedde ndi ku mpingu ndyoka ate ngisibe ku kugulu. Waliwo awo omu n'asumulula empingu nenzijjamu essaati nengisiba ku kugulu omusaayi guleme kuyiika mungi. So awo ne batubeezaawo, waliwo ne bannange be bantwala nabo baalinga 3. Kati batuvuga mu drone ekiro ekyo tegeera na gye tulaga naye, wabula we twali tugenda, buli we twali tugenda tuyimirira. To cut the story short, nga bantuusa ku Ssenyonyi embuya, wadde nali simanyiyo obudde obwo, wabula we bantwalayo ne banteeka mu godown wansi eyo. We banteeka mu godown okirira amadaala bw'oti eno waggulu, omuntu akuumayo aba n'emmundu ng'agitunuzza wansi. Kati mu godown bw'oba okkirira kuliko akuuma bwe kati kaliko empingu zisimbye layini. Kati ez'empingu abantu abasinga like we bakutuusa ng'oli mulamu nga tolinga nze abakubiddwa essasi mu kugulu oba ng'osobola okuyimirira obulungi, basobola okusiba ku mpingu ezo n'obeerako ennaku nga 3 emisana n'ekiro. We kuba kufuka ofuka awo, ebbaketi bagikuleetera awo ofuka. Okulya emmere ogiriisa mimwa, esiwaani bagikwata bukwasi n'oliisa emimwa ng'oli ku mpingu waggulu. Ne kakati baŋŋamba waliwo n'omuntu omu eyafiirako kweza empingu. Kati nga bannyingiza eyo munda mu basement. Bwe nayingira mu basement eyo mu godown, waliyo abasibe bo gye bali bangi, naye mainly kye nasinga okulaba waliyo abasiraamu bo bangi bulala. Oyinza okugamba eri muzikiti, eno gavumenti simanyi lwaki ewalana nnyo abasiraamu, ewala n'obusiraamu. Ndowooza n'Abaganda mwe babatwalira, kubanga ate oba musiraamu ng'oli Muganda kisukka. Kuba nali ndi awo nga naakamalayo ndowooza ennaku nga 3, ne wabaawo omusiraamu akolera awo Katwe ku ttaawo awo, eryo ettaawo eri wansi abantu gye batera okuyita.
yali atundira awo obuntu buno bukyakala kyakala nga mutembeeyi ne bamuleeta naye ne bamuleeta nga talina musango gwonna nga kati bamutuuse eri bamubuuza ebibuuzo nga buli kye bamubuuza takimanyi ne bamugamba muyeekera n'akuba musiraamu emiggo mbigere yagenda okudda nga takyasobola kulinnya nga yeekulula bwekuluzi ng'atambuza kabini bali bakuba kubanga ate bakyusaamu mu nkuba tebakyakuba bino bye mulaba ng'ebyakakwensa bye baamukuba kubanga bwe bakuba ebintu ng'ebyo baba bakutereka obeereyo ebbanga paka lw'obeera ng'atereddemu kubanga nange banteeka mu Ssenyonyi naye nga babataddeko akazito kangi nga bawulira baagala okunta okunzijayo naye nga baŋŋamba weerwaneko okugulu okwo ekiwundu ekyo kikole kiwone tebaagala kuleeta muntu yenna ng'aliko ki obufune okumuta okumutisa ebweru so nga mbeera eyo bwe bannangira bye basinga okukozesa bye bakubisa bakugamba gwe kaakati oli wano mugamba mulwanirira ggwanga gwe mulwanirira ali eri n'abaana be beeyagala olwo nga bagamba pulezidenti kati ate olumala nga bagamba nti oyo gwe mulwanirira ali kimu naffe kati n'obabuuza nti ate waaba kimu nammwe bw'aba ali nammwe nga mukola naye lwaki mubeera ate ffe mutukwata ffe abaagala kyali wammwe kyemugamba kyali wammwe temumwagaliza kubeera bulungi kubanga kyali wammwe kuba ffe we tumubaako tuba tulina omumuvimbisa era tumwagale nga bwe mwalikoze eki bwe mwali kyagadde kitegeeza we twagala kyali wammwe nammwe tuba tukoze eki tuba tubaagadde naye munnange ng'ekyo emiggo giba givuga eri bakuba emiggo wabawo ejja breakfast lunch ne sapa buli omu obudde bwe bwakubirwako emiggo era omuggo gunyooka ku Ssenyonyi eyo era bwe nalabye ekifaananyi kya Eddie Mutwe nga kifulumye nalabye yenna nga bamukubye yenna wulubadde simanyi oba bamukubisizza biki kuba eyo feesi ya Eddie Mutwe tefaanana bwetyo oli muganda wange mumanyi naye bamugyeyo yenna wulubadde bwati ne mmanya kati ekiri eyo si kyangu twongere kumusabira twongere n'okusabira abalala abali mu Ssenyonyi eyo nga naye ekiriyo si kirungi n'akamu ekibeera eyo abasajja batulugunya ebyaddala siriyasi.
Maybe Jamshid wandyagadde oba paintingira ku kifaananyi ku nkwata Eddie Mutwe gye baamukwata engeri gye waliwo. Apologies, moderator.
That's fine, honorable. Go, Jamshid genda maaso tubuulire kuba waliwo nga bakwata nga bawamba Eddie Mutwe.
Olunaku olwo twali tugenze ku hakiika mu Busiraamu ogwo omukolo guba gwa kusalira mwana buli mwana mu Busiraamu bamusalira omuwala bamusalira embuzi emu omulenzi bamusalira embuzi ebbiri waliwo mukyali waffe oba mukwano gwaffe gwe tukuuma naye pulezidenti bamuyita Isima yatuyita ku mukolo ogwo ne tugenda tubeewo ng'abajulizi ku mukolo ng'asalira omwana we era naliyo nze Eddie Mutwe Isima Swale gundi Honorable Namboze Waiswa Mufumbiro Honorable Waiswa Mufumbiro bonna baaliyo n'abo abaana b'emukono baaliyo so kaakati omukolo tukutambuza omukolo guwedde ssaawa ng'emu kawungeezi buli omu kati ayamuka kudda waka tuba tutambula awo tukyali awo mu lujja tunyumyanyumyamu abamu batambula bambuka kati abamu baba batambula bambuka ku kkubo Eddie Mutwe emmotoka ye yali agipaakinze ku kkubo ndowooza yali addayo kulinnya mmotoka ye kati tugenda okulaba abaana bakkirira emisinde bakkirira eri wansi ku maka goono alinga ali ku lusozi kati bokkirira waliyo abantu kati ffe engeri gye tulina sirikale ba bulijjo tugamba kati ffe abatalina musango batukwatira ki kubanga okukola pate mu makaago si musango netugamba namwe temututiisatiisa ebyo bye muliko byakusaaga kati tusigalawo ffe twali tusigadde awo tuyimiridde kati noonya ngamba Eddie oba aliwa manyi oba akyali wali ewa Isimu kumbe ye yayambuse kati tuba tukyali awo tugenda okulaba drone ejja yasala omulundi gumu kuba bwe twali tewali wala n'ekkubo yasala omulundi gumu ng'erimu amataala gaaka nnyo we yagenda n'esiba omulundi gumu nedda reverse neggala akakubo akaali kakkirira ku maka ga Isimu kati we yaggala akakubo ako ffe tudduka nga tukkirira ku kisaalu wansi kumbe ye edi yabadde ayambuka ku mmotoka kati mu kwambuka ku mmotoka bagenda balaba drone ezo nga zizze kuba drone zaali 3 nga waliwo ne double cabin n'akamotoka akatono ndowooza ke kalimu oyo omwami so kati gundi edi Mutwe abadduka abulawo n'abo abalenzi be yali nabo okuli oyo Sebudde Kasimu gwe tuyita Kunta mwana weeyo Mukono waliwo n'omulala bamuyita Fred ndowooza n'oyo omulala gwe bamukwata balinga bana kati baba bagenda weebati nga wabaawo omuntu omu ayita nti edi Mutwe nga badduka nabo kati oyo yayita edi Mutwe yaleetera edi Mutwe obuzibu we yamuyita abasirikale ne bamanya nti edi akola ki ali eri ne bagenda ne bazikookingirawo emmundu okimanyi bwe bazikookinga baba baagala kumutta musajja wattu naye nakkakkana ne bamutwala naye tebamutwala bulungi bamutwalira ddala mu mbeera embi kati ffe olwo tudduse tukkiridde ku kisaalu era we natuukayo ku kisaalu nasooka nenkubira pulezidenti essimu naye ndowooza yali bize teyasobola nenkubira maama nemutegeeza nti edi Mutwe bamulidde kati ku kisaalu twamalayo ndowooza essaawa nga 2 tumala tukomawo nga abasajja bambuse tutuuka mu maka mukyala wa Isima yali yasigaddewo n'abazadde baali basigaddewo mu maka kati wetudda nga omukyala atusigira ekifaananyi ng'atugamba waliwo omusajja azze wano abadde munene alina ekirevu ayambadde topi ya black n'ebyambalo byayambadde bya black naye ye nga tali mu uniform ali muleeya nga munenenene bwati era nze nakimanyirawo nti oyo muwummuza kubanga ye yali akola ki yatumanyi ffenna atumanyi kuba tutambulyako amuza yatuuka ku maka ga Isima n'ababuuza kati nasooka ayimiriza gano amagye ge yali atambula nago agamuli emabega abo abaali mu uniform n'abagamba simama kati ye n'abeera ng'ayingira mu nnyumba n'alingizaayo bwati agenda okulingizaayo ndowooza yali akimye effengolo edi gye baamulidde dda ndowooza yali alowooza naffe tukyaliwo so kati bwe yabagamba simama n'alingizaayo n'amala ne beetooloola awo ennyumba ne bamala ne batambula ne badda mu mmotoka zaabwe ne bakola ki ne bagenda naye nga mission eyaliwo naffe ndowooza baali baagala otutwalirako Katonda yataasa butaasa awo we twawonera ffe bwekityo bwe kyali.
Thank you. Thank you, Chagulanyi, for your innovation in calling him and having him get on as he had a network issue. We appreciate him sharing as much. Again, this is the final speaker from the panel, and so I will briefly translate, and this time we'll go to the audience. Jamshid was abducted. He told us about his ordeal. He was abducted in what has now come to be known as a drone, which is usually a minivan. The minivans that have been reconditioned to suit the purposes of abduction, made many stops along the way until he was detained in a place that he later got to know as the dreaded and infamous or notorious Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence Detention Centers, which is a detention center, which is a dungeon. Many people have complained or talked about being held here. He gave us a description of the basement or the dungeon in which people are held, and said if you've been brought in without any major injuries, you are immediately restrained using handcuffs and will spend up to 3 days on those restraints. Calls of nature are to be answered there. You will not be allowed to go somewhere to relieve yourself in a place of convenience. We also said some people have actually died there on those handcuffs. And also, quite disturbingly, that meals are delivered to you there. You have to eat using your mouth, like a dog or another animal would. You're not given the benefit of holding the food or picking it from a plate. The food is brought before you, and then you pick it up with your mouth in such humiliating conditions. He also noted that he observed a high number, disproportionately high number of Muslim detainees. Also talked about a man who was brought in without any particular charge, who was beaten terribly, and described one of the torture methods, which is hitting people under the feet. That is something that we repeatedly hear. He was hit under the feet, and that his own injury, his captors refused to release him until he got better, saying that they cannot release him with evident torture marks, as well as the bullet wound that he sustained when he was shot in the process of being abducted. It's a terrible ordeal that he went through, but that's essentially what he said. His final remarks were about how Eddie Mutwe was abducted, where they'd gone to attend an event for a child who was being named, or some such social event, and that's when a drone, the one that I described earlier, came, and out of which these armed operatives came, threatened them with guns, and took Eddie Mutwe away. Finally, he makes mention of the presence of a notorious individual called Muhumuza, who is regularly seen trailing Honorable Chagulanyi and other party leaders and bodyguards of the leadership of the party. This gentleman was present at the scene, and so evidently helped, or at least took part in the process of abduction. Dr. Nalukoola, who is your first speaker from the audience? 1 minute.
I've given Dr. Morgan is going to be the first speaker, but strictly 1 minute. Once it clocks a minute, I switch you off. So be as brief as you can. In fact, time yourself. So unmute yourself, please.
I hope I use the 1 minute well. Greetings, everyone listening in. Mr. President, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, fellow Ugandans that are listening in. I'm honored to speak to you on this virtual gathering. We are united in solidarity for our brother Edward Sebufu and all other victims of oppression in Uganda. Today we stand together not just for Eddie Mutwe, but for every Ugandan yearning for freedom, justice and dignity from across the last 40 years. Edward Sebufu, who was abducted in Mukono by military men, is not an isolated act. It is part of the systematic campaign to silence, dissent, and crush the aspiration of we, the people of Uganda that are yearning for freedom. The chilling confirmation from Muhozi, the Nepo baby, boasting of how he's holding Eddie in his basement, is a mock of rule of law, a mock to the people of it is a mockery to the people of Uganda, and it continues to expose the brutality that we have faced for at least for the 30 years ago. But let me say this clearly. They can detain us. Nepo baby, you can detain Eddie, but you can't detain the spirit of change that lives in us. His fight breathes through us.
I think your minute is up, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Nalukoola, is that correct?
I didn't use the minute, but okay. I'll land by reminding the people of Uganda, we know who our enemy is. Our enemy is not the Banyankole. Our enemy is not the Baganda. Our enemy, just like the president said the other day, is Muhozi and his power-drunk father. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Dr. Nalukoola, your next speaker from the audience. Dr. Nalukoola, who else are you giving the mic? Okay, if she's having trouble, I will request a handle that goes by the name The Good Girl at Pliam. Please unmute and go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. You have a minute.
Well, thank you for accepting me, and thank you for the minute. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. President. Well, since I only have 1 minute, I'll just, send my questionnaire to the president. I think we've cried long enough. I think so many of us here have cried every time these stories are repeated we're listening, and our hearts are heavy, and we feel like we've been on the lamentations for so long. So my question is, what is the next course of action? We need to know what we can do to help the situation, because recently the Uganda Human Rights Commission ordered for the release of Eddie. Everything was ignored. We've called, we've written, we've done everything that I think we've said whatever we have said for so long. I think it's time to do something more than just speaking, more than just listening into people crying. We've cried long enough. So, Mr. President, what else can we do? What is the next course of action?
Great.
Me and so many others feel we should do something about this. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Great, thank you. I will now request Dr. Daniel Kauma to share.
Yes, greetings everyone. I recognize our president and our party leadership. On behalf of the diaspora, I greet you all, and I want to use this platform to also repeat the call for the president that what we want to hear now is action. Action, and every diaspora member who is on this platform, I re-echo those sentiments that we need to do our part as a diaspora and hit the streets wherever we are. In the diaspora, we have more liberties, more freedom of speech in many of the territories. So I call on all of you, let's hit the streets, let's demonstrate, let's petition stakeholders to make sure that there's accountability for the regime. The question I have is probably the question many Ugandans have, and we have seen what our neighbors in Kenya have been able to do, where there seems to be more sensitization among the masses to draw the correlation between their plight, their suffering, and the leadership in power. I sense there's there are two things. One may be fear, two comfort among the Ugandan populace, where we seem to be either we have resigned or we are just fearful. If you look at the elections, almost about the section of the voters who turn up is decreasing. We saw what happened in Kawempe. So what more can be done in Uganda to sensitize the masses to realize that there's more that needs to be done to remove Museveni? Because I feel there's some form of comfort among the young people, and of course even the elites. So when you make a call that let's demonstrate, let's put pressure on our representatives, members of parliament, is it more of an issue of lack of sensitization? Is it an issue of fear? What more can we do as people in the struggle, not just NUP, but people in FDC, ANT, and others, to make sure that we rally our troops together to dethrone Museveni? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kauma. Shamim Nambasa, you have requested. Dr. Shamim Nambasa, please accept the mic and go ahead. Okay, while that happens, Shamim Nambasa, are you there? Okay, if Shamim Nambasa is having challenges, Aiden Kalisa. Aiden Kalisa. Okay, my co-host should have her mic returned so that we can do this together. Okay, Shamim, there you are. Go ahead. Shamim, you have the floor. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. Can you confirm that you can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can. You have a minute.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate everyone that is here. And Mr. President, good evening, and good evening to everyone. I just wanted to add my voice to what the good girl has said, Kavuma, and everyone else. I think for a very long time we have kept quiet, and then we see the dictator pushing us to the limits, but then we still do the same things over and over again, and it is very clear that it's only a fool that will do the same thing over and over expecting different results. I'm not saying that we are fools, but I'm saying that maybe it is time for us to change the guard. It is time for us to actually try different means. I think, and what many people here are asking for is what is next, what are we going to do next? So I think it is time that we actually did leave the comfort zones and started to hit the streets. We have seen it when, we said we were marching to parliament, the state was on panic. I think if we did have a sustained fight of the sort, then it would be clear that maybe then we can start to have some answers. I think the level of disrespect that we've been pushed to such extent that they actually come to the secretariat, to our headquarters, and block our events from going on. So it is time for us to actually take action and leave the comfort zones. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Justice Hunter, that's the name of the handle. Yes, you have a minute. Go ahead. Justice Hunter, the mic is yours. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Andrew, and everyone in this space who has shared the ordeal and the way and the status quo of the human rights temperature in Uganda. As Justice Hunter, I'm sick and tired of using the same talking points, because I think it is time for us to expedite our liberation from the captivity of this junta of Despot Museveni. Because right now, Eddie Mutwe is counting on us not to be silent, but to act. So for me, I'm not going to ask a question, but I'm going to give a remedy. And this remedy can be done tomorrow. I implore our president, Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu, to call on all the MPs of NUP, including the councillors, plus the leader of opposition, Joe Ssenyonyi. Tomorrow, make a team and march to CMY. This is going to be a wake-up call to all Ugandans, to show them that these are the MPs who are willing and ready for the protest vote we're talking about. Because protest vote has 3 phases. There is the pre-protest vote, there is the during protest vote, and the post-protest vote. So right now we're talking about the pre-protest vote. So we want to see those leaders who are not just rhetorical, but who are action-oriented. So if Despot Museveni arrests all of you, trust me, the international community is going to act. But if they arrest one person, they will not act. So His Excellency Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu, can you call on all our leaders, the councillors, MPs, leader of opposition? Tomorrow, you guys go to the front line and march. They cannot kill all of you. They cannot arrest all of you. And once they do that, it is going to attract international, community, and they will stand with Ugandans. Otherwise, if we're doing business as usual, that's what Museveni, of course, this is what he wants. In the end, we're going to, to just
Thank you.
In jail.
Thank you, Justice. A handle that goes by the name Margaret Natabi Nava. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. You guys, when you're done speaking, sorry, Natabi, when you're done speaking, I'm going to remove you as a speaker so that we create space for other people. You can continue.
It's okay. Thank you so much, Karamaji. And Judith, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Natabi. Just like the rest of the speakers, I think the operators are even laughing at us at this moment, because they've reached a level of stripping us naked, sharing our photos naked on media, and again, what we are doing is just speaking about it. Mr. President, last time I saw a post of you telling Ugandans the time, like course of action. I mean, we are just requesting, sir. We are just here ready. We are requesting, just come out and tell us, you know what, guys, we've given this government, it could be 10 hours, 24 hours, whatever. But beyond this, they've not released our people to the streets. Mr. President, sir, we are ready to do anything because they've done everything. We've looked Spark and they everything. If they're capable of starting to share photos of people with families naked here on media, what more do we need before we get angry as Ugandans and we raise up to go and fight for our own justice? If we don't stand up and remain doing this, speaking here every day, every time, nothing is going to change. This government works on pressure. We've done protests and we've seen change. However much the change may not be that big, but let us go beyond speaking about it. Can you command us, please? And we go put it into action. Thank you so much.
Great. Anya Anyama Alfred Berliner, you have the floor. 1 minute. Okay, if Berliner is not okay, go ahead, Berliner. Berliner is unable to speak. I will invite.
I think he's on.
Okay, go ahead. I think our brother is having a challenge. Dr. Nalukoola, my screen is crowded. Please choose someone to speak.
Had chosen the Speaker of Nakawa.
Okay, what's
He had
his
raised
handle?
his hand. At Luyombia, Godfrey. I don't know whether he's now able to speak, unmute and speak. Because he's a leader and we've had some people calling out leaders. What are they doing to rally the masses to fight for the rights of their fellow citizens? So I think it was right to give him an opportunity to tell us as a speaker of a whole area. Tell us something.
Sure, that's a direct question to you. Please tell us what you are doing. Please share his name again so that we can, the production can pick him.
It is at Godi Luyombia. Right Honorable Luyombia Godfrey, that's his handle. His username, but I think it's network issue.
Okay, while that happens, we could have Nandaula Helen. Nandaula Helen. Okay, Nandaula, you have the mic. Go ahead, please. 1 minute. And after Nandaula will be Mungadi. Nandaula, are you able to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead. 1 minute.
Thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity to speak. I would like to recognize the presence of our president and the party leadership and all other leaders and everybody that's on the call. What happened to Eddie Mutwe is a cycle that has, been happening to many of our colleagues. We've cried enough. We've suffered enough. And I think enough is enough. Mr. President, enough is enough. We are tired of being mocked. And our silence has enabled this, the junta to and his goons to be, to normalize the situation, to normalize torturing us and mocking us. The impunity watching their followers play about, these actions. It is too much. Like everyone, like the previous speakers, we need leadership. We need leadership. We need guidance to do more than what we've done. We've done good, we are doing good, but it's not enough. It's not enough. This is exactly what they want to say. They
Thank
want us,
you.
they know we will lament, they know we will cry, and that's it. Mohoz tweeted and said, yes, I
Thank
have done
you.
it. What can you
Mm.
do about it? So please,
Thank you,
enough
Nandaula.
is enough. Thank you.
Great. W